flat bench press versus incline bench press. Which one is superior for chest development? We're going to break it down, and we're going to declare a winner right now.
Ooh.
Yeah, nice debate.
Yeah.
Right? Nice debate.
We all have our preferences.
We do. And I think for a long time, it was bench press. That was like the
gold
number
standard.
One gold standard, especially when we grew up. It was actually the exercise that determined how strong you were. Nobody asked you anything else. It was how much could you bench. But when you really break them down, I think there's pluses and minuses, but I do think you come out with kind of a clear winner.
I actually don't even think it's close. I think the only reason why flat bench was superior, just because I think it was a staple for so long, and that you can do more. Because most people can lift more weight on the bench press, and so that's the argument. It's like, oh, okay, well, if you can lift more weight on there, then that's the one that's going to grow and develop the chest the most.
I think it's also a competitive lift, right?
Right. It's part
bench
of
press is a power lift.
It's a staple lift.
Yeah, there is no like competition where you're competing with an incline press, but bench press, that's the one that will count in a powerlifting comp. It's one of the big three in powerlifting competitions. Now, that's got to be that's a pro, I would say, for bench, is that you can use more weight, and that's not something you want to disregard. Being able to handle more weight does something to the body. It does something to the central nervous system. And exercises that allow you to use a lot of load, the fact that you can handle a lot of load while doing that exercise has its own value. And there's few pure upper body exercises. In fact, I can't think of an upper body exercise, just a pure upper body one that doesn't involve lots of, engagement from the lower body or, the hips or whatever, where you could lift more weight, right? It's got to be the heaviest pure upper body exercise. Am I right there? I would say
because it's a horizontal press. Because vertical press, you're only going to be lifting so much. I mean, I'm sure people.
Are you going to include like a row though? Are you going to include the other way? Are you talking about pressing only?
Yeah, no, I think the highest bench press. I mean, people could bench more than they can do a barbell row. Typically, right? Because you have to support it with your low back. It's pretty close.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of my numbers right now. If I could row as much.
I could barbell row more than I could bench, but I'm not. Yeah. I'm got that strange. I'm much stronger than I can pull in it.
That's why they reduce it down to power lifts. So you got your just squat, deads, and bench. Because it really is like the most you can maximize in terms of exercises.
I think I've spoke out a lot on the incline bench and how much more I'm a fan of that, and a lot of that for me came from training clients. Yeah. So it wasn't even like a performance or building the chest. It was a mechanical thing. Yeah. I found the bench press, the flat bench press, believe it or not, was one of the most difficult exercises to get someone to perform correctly. Mm-hmm. And I think it's, I think people overlook it because you can look at somebody doing a flat bench press and they not have good form at all, but it looks all right. Mm-hmm. Like as long as their bar path is relatively even, they could be pressing in a way that is all delts and arms and very little chest involvement and not good technique. But it looked for the average eye, go like, oh yeah,
they don't know the difference.
He did the difference.
Once you lay in a laying down position, I think people a lot of times they have a hard time connecting and staying tense. In a laying down, because your natural tendency is to sort of relax the rest of your body, kind of focus on just where you're pressing, when in fact you really have to anchor your body to the ground and really be able to drive and get those ground forces.
It's a remarkably technical exercise, the bench press. It requires more mobility. More shoulder injuries happen from a bench press than an incline press because of that fact. I consider that a pro and a con. I think learning the skill and the technique of a bench press allows you to engage your mid-back, allows you to learn how to drive with your legs in an exercise that doesn't utilize your legs. It teaches you how to activate your central nervous system, put your shoulders in an advantageous position. But also the downside of that is it takes a long time to get really good at it in comparison to an incline. Like I could have a client with no experience and within a couple weeks, so long as there's no injuries, right? Within a couple weeks, we could do a good incline press. Bench press, there were many clients I couldn't even get them to bench until I trained them for 3 or 4 months on shoulder mobility, scapular retraction, and strength before I even had them lay flat on their back. In fact, neck mobility issues were sometimes an issue with some clients where their head couldn't even touch the bench properly because they had neck mobility issues. So the fact that an incline is easier to do properly gives it an advantage, but then also learning how to do a flat bench properly, there's advantages to that as well.
Although I think a lot of people neglect it. I think that it's not. I think the incline should be a prerequisite to the flat bench,
Right.
But it's normally taught.
Normally they do the other one first.
The other way around.
I know, 100% right. As far as aesthetics are concerned, I think bodybuilders have established this now for a while.
Incline.
The incline, you'll never see a chest that is overdeveloped in the upper part. It just doesn't exist. It gives you a nice square looking chest. Can you develop a chest where the lower part is overdeveloped in comparison to the upper part? Yeah, it happens all the time. It tends to lead to a not as aesthetic look. I think that's why bodybuilders prefer the incline over the flat. In fact, if you look at bodybuilders through the decades, the bench press got really popular early on in the 60s and 70s, and then towards the late 70s and 80s, people started doing more incline, and you can see the difference in their pec development.
I'm trying to picture that in my head, like somebody that has an overdeveloped like lower part of their chest, because I don't know, like I don't know if I've seen that very often.
Yeah, I mean, you could look up top bodybuilders of the 60s, and you'll see how their chests look versus the more square look of the upper pec. And it doesn't look. Remember, they're bodybuilders, so they're all well developed,
right?
But it does give you a different look. It's more of the kind of lower, pec look or whatever versus the upper, chest square look.
What it was, I mean, you were a big reader, like when it came to this stuff, like with Arnold and what was he advocating for back then?
He did both, but he started with flat.
He did.
Now remember, he came from learning from the bodybuilders of the 60s and 50s, and all of them flat benched first. I mean, the flat bench. The bench press revolutionized strength training for bodybuilders because up until the 40s and 50s, there were no flat benches. So there you go. You could see kind of that, like Larry Scott there on the left with the way his chest was, or even with the picture next to him, Eiferman, I think is his last name. You kind of see a little bit of a shallow upper chest. Then you go to like the 80s and you'll see more of a square look to the chest. So, I mean, remember, they're all well developed. It's not bad. Yeah. It's just not as good as some of those.
Didn't study dudes' chests enough, I guess.
Well, I mean, we're getting into it. Incline will develop your shoulders more than flat, but flat will develop your triceps more than the incline. And I think it's just from the load, right? The heavy load on the flat places more of a stress.
Do you think what we're saying though is even common knowledge right now? I don't.
No.
If I walk in a gym, most times all the flat benches are taking, and almost always there's an incline bench or two open.
Yeah.
So I still think that the predominant like general pop still gravitates towards a flat bench first over an incline bench, which again, speaking to the general pop, I think forget the chest development side, because there's probably people listening that like really don't give a shit, like that part, that's not the main motivation. They're just trying to be fit, be strong. A lot of female clients that were asking questions like that. Technique wise, when you sit in an incline bench, it puts you in this advantageous position with the shoulder girdle.
Your angle's so much better.
Yeah, it sits it back and down, and
which is what you're trying to do with a flat.
And why that's so important is because almost everybody has some bit of forward shoulder, and rounded shoulders and forward head, just because we do everything in front of us, right? It's just how bad do you have it? And so when you do a movement where you're pressing forward like that, it causes you to want to do that even more, exacerbate it. Where if you're in the incline and you're looking up like this, it at least helps that gravity pulls down a little bit and back.
Brings your shoulder blades down.
Yeah. And then I think too, I would also make the argument that when someone does an incline, whether they are intentionally doing it or not, tend to do a deeper, fuller range of motion too. Like you'll see more of a shallow bench press on a flat bench press. A lot of guys are stopping at 90 degrees or whatever, where when they're in that incline, they'll let it sink all the way down and back. And probably because they're in the better position, right? Their shoulder girdle is in the down and retracted position, and so they're going deeper. So I think you're getting a couple things there. Not only are you a better form of technique, you're also probably getting a greater range of motion for some people.
I think you could also make the argument that incline is more functional because when you're pressing,
it's closer to a vertical press.
Yes, where the vertical press is one of the most functional.
Most functional.
Yeah, I mean, you're pressing something in a sport away from you, you're almost always leaning forward into the press. Otherwise, you're going to push yourself back rather than whatever you're trying to push
going
away.
With you.
Yeah, and so the incline is going to be a bit more functional from that standpoint. So I think we could say unequivocally winner would be incline. So now that's, by the way, I love doing these because you don't have to just pick one, right?
No,
do them both.
Yeah, you're gonna want to do both for sure.
Do them both. That's the best way.
I think do them both, and I would add whatever you do less of, do more of. Right, because I think that why ever neglect one of them, because they're both such great movements and they should be a part of your routine. But I think probably what's most common is that at least in my experience, most people will gravitate towards which one more than the other, and so therefore whatever that one is, it would behoove you to move more towards the other one, and you'll reap more benefits.
Yeah. Hey, sorry to interrupt you. Look, are you lifting weights, eating a ton of food, and struggling? You're not packing on any muscle. You're not building any muscle at all. You're not getting stronger. Well, check it out. We have a hard gainer guide. This can be your ultimate resource to turn that around. Pack on some muscle mass with our hard gainer guide. It's totally free. You can get it by downloading it, clicking on the link in the description below. So I just I actually came across some great statistics on all-cause mortality. This is decent data. And how sauna use affects all-cause mortality.
That's so funny you're bringing this up right now.
Why?
This was on my notes to talk about this because I had just seen. We haven't had him on the show. I think we were booked with him in Texas at one point and then rescheduled.
Peter Tia?
Yes, I saw him do an interview, and I forget who he was talking to, and he was saying that I think the interviewer asked, what are the things that you've changed your mind on the most? And that was his argument, was that he has really changed his position on how valuable, hot is doing the sauna for all cause mortality for that reason, because it's not like because he makes the point of how a lot of these things that all of us argue and debate over, especially in the science community, right? We're splitting hairs of like which is 5% better or this and that. He goes, but from what the research says, like it's a huge difference.
You've heard it's like an exercise mimicker. You've heard for lymphatic system and everything else, in terms of like sweating it out and getting these toxins out. And what's the biggest benefit? And I know heat shock proteins, another factor.
You could break it all down. It dilates the blood vessels, increases blood flow, raises your heart rate. So there's that exercise simulation aspect of it. You could talk about heat shock proteins and get real granular and get into the weeds, but the data on it is crazy.
Yeah.
It's one of those things because you have exercise, diet, sleep at the top. Very few things even come close or would even be in the same universe as exercise, diet, and sleep in terms of affecting all-cause mortality. Like there's a lot of things you can do that the data will show will improve your health. And remember, for people who aren't familiar, all-cause mortality means dying from any cause, okay? There's nothing will compare to diet, exercise, getting good sleep, or just general lifestyle or stress, right? Nothing comes close, and everything else is just like you're moving a few percentages here and there. And if your diet could get better, your exercise routine could get better or more consistent, you're better off focusing your energy there. And that's always the argument. It's like, okay, cool. I'm glad you have this new exotic berry or whatever that you can eat, or this new thing that you're doing, but why don't you just eat a little bit healthier? Like that'll have way more of a return. Well, sauna use, I'm going to read you guys some of the stats on this. It's massive. The effects of sauna use are quite incredible. So Dr. Rhonda Patrick, she's one of my favorite experts to talk about this, but check this out. So this is for people who use a sauna quite regularly, 4 to 7 times a week. So we're not talking about by the way, 15% decrease in all-cause mortality would be huge. That would be huge, 20%. Massive. There's very few things you could do besides exercise, diet, and lifestyle. We'll put stress in that category. That would have an effect of like 20% or 15%, 40% lower in people who use a sauna 4 to 7 days a week.
Yeah, that's crazy.
40%.
Huge number.
Nothing comes close to that. People who use a sauna 2 to 3 days a week, 20% lower. So even just 2 days a week, you'll dramatic. So that's how effective it is that you use it 2 days a week, 20%, 4 days a week, 5 days a week, 40% lower. It's like one thing you can do that has on all cause.
So do you think if you were building the ultimate minimalist longevity type of program that this is
sauna's in there.
Right. So it's like a 2 day a week routine, I would imagine, right? Because minimalist, or again, right? Not what the max benefits. Like, what is the least I can do to like really reap the most benefits? Probably a 2 day full body routine with what 2 to 3 days of the sauna use.
Yeah. Walking every day.
Yeah.
2 days a week of strength training. A couple days a week or a few days a week of sauna use. Eating a whole food diet. And getting regular, good, consistent sleep. Like you've covered 90+% of the basis with just those right there.
I was reminded, remember when we went to Paleo Effects, they had like a cheap version that you could get for your house, but it was like, I remember Doug and then you fitting in one, it was like a pod.
Oh yeah.
And your head sticks out?
Yeah, like Velcros.
I think Doug owns one of those.
I do own one.
Yeah, you own one of those.
How effective is it?
I mean, it works great. 30 minutes in it, and I'm sweating pretty hard.
We have one too. It's not at our house anymore. It's I think there's someone's storage in the family. Katrina's family has one that it's old. It's like that was like the pop up like cheaper version. They used to make a like a hard plastic eggshell one like that where your head stuck out.
Yeah.
So we used to use that all the time. I mean, it works great for if that's
they
what
are
you're
cheap options was the point of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it is an expensive
because I know
thing.
that's
Like, oh yeah, just do sauna.
Right. That's because I know that's the pushback, right? People, oh yeah, sure, anybody can just afford a $7,000 sauna, no big deal. But there's ways around to get the benefits to what you're talking about.
They're quite inexpensive.
Yeah, and I just the reason it was so funny you brought it up because it was in my notes. I had seen that it was and I had known that already. It was just a great reminder. And I messaged Katrina because we're doing a bunch of stuff, construction with the house, and it was just like, oh, I need a 220 outlet so I could run
a sauna?
Yeah, because I want to put a sauna outside so I could do that. Because when we had it here, I was on a kick for a while doing it, and and I don't know what is the combining it with cold contrast. How do you know how much better it gets, or is it incremental with the cold contrast?
I think you get the benefits of both. The reason why I like to combine them personally is if I go from sauna to cold, it's more tolerable. Yeah. You get the same effects, but jumping into a cold dip, like without being hot first, like you wake up in the morning, jump in, it is hard, man. It's torture.
Back to our old theory of like when you're in a constantly controlled environment, temperature wise, and then to stress the body in terms of going from this end of the spectrum to the other and being able to acclimate, to either pretty effectively. I feel like that's got to be good for resilience.
To me, nothing has ever made a bigger difference when I'm cold plunging consistently, which I am not right now, but when I am, I can stretch a long period of time of not getting sick. Otherwise, the inevitable happens. I'll get sick once every few months, or if I'm in a room with you guys, it's like. But when I'm cold plunging like that it's a drastic difference.
But what you're saying, Justin, your ability to acclimate to temperature, like that's a real thing. Like I remember when I lived in Palm Desert, so it's like the suburb of Palm Springs.
It gets so hot.
It gets so hot, right? Like 120 degrees in the summer.
My shoes melted there when I went down there. Yeah.
So, and this is no joke. And I lived there for a little while. I had a gym down there, and it was so hot. I'd never experienced anything like that. It was like you go outside. It would be 90 degrees at 6 a.m. Yeah. Or you go outside and it felt like someone had a blow dryer and blow you in the face. So that's what the wind felt like.
Your pool was basically like a hot tub.
So after a while of living there, I came up here to visit my family in San Jose. And I remember it was like a heat wave here. So it was like 89, 92. Yeah. And I was fine. I went outside and I was like, and everybody's dying. I'm like, am I used to that?
That was like when I came back from Chicago.
Yes.
And I remember sitting and watching one of our old like high school football games, and everybody's got parkas on. They're like this, and I'm like t-shirt. I'm like, this is temperate.
Yeah,
this is fine.
I had a client who used to live in Minnesota, and whenever it was like 50 degrees, she'd show up in shorts and a t-shirt. I'm like, aren't you cold? She's like, I grew up on a farm in Minnesota.
Yeah. Didn't we just have a guest that came in and visited the other day? That was from where were they from? Was it Alaska, or they were from somewhere
where it was cold?
Yeah, I can't remember where it was from. They were like, we were all freezing there in like a t-shirt and shorts.
I remember when my dad, he worked a blue collar, but when he first came to this country, one of the first jobs he had was as a plaster. He'd be out in the hot sun doing plaster. And he told me, like, once he got used to it, it wasn't a big deal. But when he first started doing it, he's like, man, he would get dizzy. He'd have to like drink water. My mom would throw salt in the water because after a while he got used to it, and then he would never feel hot again.
Well, Sal, isn't that the theory behind why, like because what I'm talking about is like, I feel like it's immune boosting, right? But it also has a lot to do with like why we catch colds a lot of times in the wintertime is because our bodies are already trying to acclimate to temperatures.
That's a good theory.
It's in a weaker state, and then it's more likely to get attacked.
Vitamin D exposure.
Yeah, you're just weaker, right? Your body's allocating resources to a system
that
is underdeveloped and weak, and then therefore all it takes is a little bit of a virus in the air and you get attacked, versus that system is so strong because you change it doesn't even get stressed at all, so then it can allocate those resources.
That's a very good
what
hypothesis.
I always thought was happening. Is that's what makes the most sense to me, is that I've trained that system to be so resilient that when we hit wintertime and everybody else is feeling it so much, I'm resilient, so that when I am in an environment when you guys are like, all my resources go to defense versus having to also work that system.
That's a really good theory, because when you look up why do illnesses peak in the winter, what they'll say is we're closer to each other indoors, less vitamin D from sun exposure. But I don't think that answers it completely.
No, that's part of the story.
I think you might be right, Adam. I think it might be what I just said, plus, there's that period of acclimation where your body's a little bit more stressed from the cold.
Yeah.
And so I would agree with you.
I mean, it makes sense to me when you think about how our body utilizes all the other systems. And if you have they all work synergistically, right? And so if you have a really weak system, whatever system it is of your body, right? There's a chance that your body then has to provide more resources to overcompensate.
Well, it is
a
fact that if your stress level's high, you are more susceptible to illness. Period.
Right.
End of story.
Right.
Regardless,
and that is the resources going over there, right? So it's, I don't know. That's what always made sense to me on what was going on. It's no doubt I've done it enough times where I've been consistent, inconsistent, consistent, to be able to see that it's a huge difference.
Speaking of stats, I found some very interesting stats on. So we work with Rock Recovery Center. They provide rehab services for people who are struggling with addiction. And I wanted to look up statistics on rehab, because they exist. Like, how effective is rehab for helping people with addiction? And I have real statistics.
Isn't it very extreme?
It's better than I thought, because I thought, I don't know why I thought this, for some reason, that's like, it's the chances are so small, no matter what you do, that you'll get out of whatever you're doing. It's actually not bad at all. So 89, I have a bunch of stats here. 89% of individuals who complete alcohol rehab are still sober 1 month after. 76% who successfully complete rehab remain sober 3 months. 69% are still sober 6 months. A little more than 70%, so right around the same, 9 months. Approximately 85 to 95% of people who successfully complete drug rehab report that they're still abstinent from drugs 9 months later. 80% of people report having improved quality of life. I mean, the stats are pretty damn good, especially when you consider the stats of people that don't go to rehab.
I actually thought that it was a lot worse than that also.
So did I.
I thought it was like a 10%.
No.
I thought it was very
Do they have like the different treatments in terms of their weight of which one was more successful versus the other?
No, that's a good question. I know Rock Recovery.
This is why we're working with them and they become friends, is because obviously they were big Mind Pump listeners for a long time.
I think the way they do it is
well, they've really taken the similar approach the way we do with fitness, right? Not only including fitness, because I know there's a lot of places that might include fitness, but they've also taken our approach of the least amount possible to elicit the most change, and know how important that is. Because when you have addicts, one of the most common things that you see with an addict is they cut one addiction down and then they just transfer it pick it up somewhere else. And so many times the exercise works as like a bridge to get them off the drug or alcohol. But then they just move to being obsessed and addicted with that. And even though, yes, you can make the argument that that's probably a better addiction than cocaine, nonetheless, it's still an addiction where they'd be far better off if they applied it appropriately, so they get all the benefits of exercise, but then they also don't just transfer those same behaviors.
And they're just good people over there. They're just really, really good people who successfully came out of their own, or now sober themselves, successfully working with people, and they're really good. So, I mean, if you're listening to this, or you have a family member or friend that's struggling, the odds that they're going to be able to do this on their own are almost zero when you look at the data. Working with a really good rehab center, pretty good statistics. Not bad at all. I thought they were going to be a lot worse when I looked them up. Just from what I thought.
Better than what I thought.
Way better. And they're doing a scholarship, right? It's like every other month they give one away.
Yeah. So anytime you guys hear us bring them up on the show, if you have a family friend, definitely sign up. And no matter what. So even if your family friend or yourself does not win the actual scholarship, they're reaching and they're doing like a consult with everybody. So people that are
They'll at least be able to point you in a direction.
exactly. And that's their goal, is to help everybody. They've even got a free community, so they have a Facebook group too. So like they're inviting those people into there so they can at least start building a support group, regardless if they win the scholarship or not. They're building a really strong community of people that are all helping and support each other. So definitely, register to try and win, because at the bare minimum, they at least will reach out and do that.
You just reminded me of something. So you know how Facebook does, memories? They'll pull up like an old picture.
Yeah.
Doug, I texted you a picture. If you could pull it up. This is, so you guys know how every year after Thanksgiving, I work out with my cousins and my brother.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out how long this tradition has been going on. It's actually been going on a lot longer than I thought. So this picture right here, check this out. This is 2015. Look at the shirt I'm wearing.
Oh, yeah.
Scroll up a little bit, Doug. Look at the shirt. It's one of the first T-shirts, if not the first T-shirt.
So do you guys still have that shirt? I was trying to look for it.
No.
I don't think I have it anymore.
So one of the first shirts that we sold.
Zero fucks?
Zero.
Yeah, I've kept all where they're at though. I know I've kept all of them. One day I want to make a big quilt out of them.
I can't believe you wore those to your show.
Yeah. So I know.
I wore that walking around public. What am I doing? Yeah. But anyway, and so this is 2015. By the way, how supportive of my family. They're all wearing Mind Pump shirts for that. That's 2015 too. This is like right before or right after we must have launched or whatever.
We had the Italian bump.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's so cool that you had that kind of support from your family that early on, because we weren't even making waves at this point.
We weren't doing that.
And so
we thought we were awesome.
I mean, you've got 5 family members right there all wearing Mind Pump shirts, and I don't even think I had 5 family members listening to the show until maybe even now. You know what I'm saying?
Now I got like 4.
Yeah.
So this picture's 2015.
Mm-hmm.
This was the 7th year right here that we had done it. So we've been doing this tradition for 17 years.
Really?
17 years, every year.
Have you guys done a good job in taking a picture every time? Do you know?
Not all of them.
Because that would be a really cool thing.
I think this is the first picture we took. I think the rest of them were just, we did it. And then we started kind of documenting.
I always hate when I go back.
I know, man.
It's like what we talked about with the Airbnbs. I wish we would have taken photos, all of us, through all those. It's like, you know what? Speaking of that, do you guys think, I had this thought the other day, because we've moved so much into the digital era and Instagram is now kind of taking over like the modern photo album. Like how often do you hear anybody or when was the last time you went to a house, someone brought a photo album out?
Nobody.
So I think we're going to go back to that. I believe we're going to move back. There's something about
Jessica makes them all the time.
Yeah, I did for Katrina a lot early on in the
tangible picture.
You send them in and they'll print and they'll make them in a book.
I use Shutterfly and they make like books. And so when we first started dating, I was making Katrina a book every year for like the first few years. And so, and every once in a while we will pull those out, and it's like, and there's just something about flipping through the pages. And I know I have all those photos in my iPhone,
but they're not organized the same way.
Yeah, it's just, and
they're cool for coffee tables, And
I don't even know if that's what it is. There's a feeling I get that is different when I flip through the book versus even if it was organized. Because I can go to Shutterfly online, and where I built that book, I can go through it there too. But there is something different about turning the pages and holding it in your lap like that. I don't know, like it creates conversation around, oh, I remember this. And I don't know, versus us on a phone or on a TV, or it's just different. And I believe that we're going to move. I think it's going to be popular again. So that's my business idea for somebody right now, is that direction.
But don't they already do that?
They do, but it's not popular. It's not like something that like
so your business idea is to
like,
make
so what
popular.
what would be smart, like
we'll start a glamour photo business.
I mean, what would be smart is if somebody like went after people. So imagine you have all these Instagram, and imagine someone DMs you and says, hey, I see you've had Instagram going for like 2 years. I'd like to put together an album for you. Would you allow me to do that, or something like that? Or for $50, I'll create a nice album and then do it. And then
AI is going to do that.
Would you not buy it? Well, I'm sure you can already use AI tools. I think you can with even like Shutterfly. I think you can already use AI.
Speaking of which, who was it that sent that clip where someone said, hey, you could ask like Meta to come up with the best, most viral potential post.
Yeah.
Who was it?
Yeah. I think the YouTube
was one of our guys.
Yeah, I think the YouTube group. I had shared that before.
That's crazy.
Somebody reshared it.
You can literally ask Meta, their AI, hey, what would be the most viral content for my audience?
So you understand why this is so good for us and why this is so important is because the platforms are already moving, which is, you guys have probably noticed this already with your feeds. Like you're getting way less views, but the views you are getting are people that really want to see exactly that type of content that you're posting at that moment.
They're getting good at that.
They're getting very good at that. So even though there's people that are frustrated because they think their views are way down or their listens are way down, what the algorithms are getting better and better at is feeding people content that is exactly what they want and only what they want, which means if you're really good at providing really good value for whatever your thing is, that's going to stick, because that person who was already like, let's say you're like, a lot of my feed is all car stuff. I'm all into that. And I'm watching certain car things right now because I'm interested in a new exhaust or whatever. So that's like everything I'm getting fed. And the person who did the best video, the highlighting the exhaust or the thing I'm interested in is going to get my attention, and I'm not going to get distracted by anything else because that's all I'm getting.
What they're doing is they're catering to content creators because they know that they're the ones that make their platforms popular. The better content creators you have, the better your platforms. Isn't TikTok about to become illegal, by the way?
I heard one of you guys say that. Is that true?
Yeah.
They're saying it. They're saying it's true. On the 19th, by the way, which I think the inauguration's on the 20th. Yeah. So
the timing's
interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting.
We'll see.
What does a conspiracy theorist say about that?
I know. Is there a conspiracy theory?
There probably is.
Well, I'm sure there is. But
hey, sorry to interrupt. Look, I have a free guide that teaches you how to lose fat in 3 steps. Just 3 steps that will burn the most amount of body fat and help keep it off. This guide is totally free. We're giving it to everybody right now. If you want it, click on the link at the top of the description below. All right, back to the show.
Yeah, so Trump, I don't think he had a problem with TikTok. So this was all past,
Yeah, this is all because
wait. I thought he did. I thought I've heard him say stuff about it.
He's gone back because it helped him in the election. He was like claiming so.
Is it because
he's like, oh, I like TikTok?
It's because it's a China-owned platform, and they're capturing.
Yeah, it's because a lot of the spyware and everything they found that they actually have been taking everybody's data.
Well, and they proved
their phones.
They also proved too that like we're getting fed different content over in the U.S. than like what they are in China.
The kids, especially.
Yeah.
Have you seen?
And
those
so I think
videos?
that's what really caused everybody to go like, oh, this is okay. Something's
different
up.
Algorithm in China than there was here.
Yeah.
Maybe you know what sucks about all
they
this?
showed that.
What sucks about all this is there's people who have built businesses just on TikTok who are about to lose their entire business.
I mean, again, another plus for us. Even though we have a TikTok, we don't put no energy into it. So, I mean, what that means for us is a majority of U.S. based people will then go over to Reels and be more on YouTube Shorts and so that, which is where we're at. So, yeah, the TikTok thing has never. I know there are some people that have had massive success. I think you have to have a product or a thing that really appeals to that 13 to 23.
Are they still the youngest demographic?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Maybe Snapchat's up there too. Maybe Dylan or someone could look up what's the
average age of a TikTok user?
Well, they figured out the most addictive process ever. Like they literally nailed it.
They did.
Yeah. I mean, it's crack for kids. That's what it is.
It's just like crack cocaine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I told you guys my daughter has a grand
around
total.
24 years old.
Is the average?
Yeah.
What's the average for Instagram? Let's just see what the difference
that's
is.
older for sure. What's Snapchat? Snapchat might be one that's down there with them. There's probably a platform.
I think Snapchat will take over for sure here.
Yeah.
Why do they do this?
It's already popular. Yeah, with the youth, that's like every teenager. That's what they live on.
Is that what you're
15 to 25-year-olds?
Oh, so that's younger
on Snapchat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Snap will probably take over a lot of that.
For sure.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of conspiracy theories and stuff, I learned about the coolest one yesterday, Justin.
Oh yeah.
And I can't. So you don't know who Ron?
I've been watching a lot of dumb ones, and I'm like, I don't.
Ron White, the comedian.
Ron Wyatt.
Oh, Wyatt.
Ron Wyatt. I'll pull up a little info on him because I saw this clip or this like on him, and I looked him up. And there's a lot of controversy, right? Is he real? Is he not? Whatever. He was they called him a pseudo archaeologist, but essentially he would go out and study biblical archaeological places, and he made 100 biblical archaeological discoveries. His most notable claim. You ready for this? So he said he found
the Ark of the Covenant.
The Ark of the Covenant, which was underground.
Underneath where Jesus died
crucified.
On the cross. Yeah.
Okay. So under where Jesus was crucified was the Ark of the Covenant.
And then they had like a DNA evidence of his blood.
He saw this red dried substance on it.
24 chromosomes?
That's right. He took the blood, studied in a lab. It only had 24 chromosomes.
Yeah.
It only had half the
insane.
chromosomes.
This is right up there with my carbon dating right here, bro.
I thought it was so cool.
Yeah, I know. It's fantastical. But
Yeah, I was looking it
I don't know
up,
if it's
and
been verified.
yeah, dude, there's some debates as to back and forth of whether or not it was real.
Oh,
or
here
not.
it is. Right here.
Yeah, he had this. It was a YouTube series, and he had it out for I don't know. This has been out for years.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, he
I
died
know.
in
I
99.
found him like I don't know a year ago.
Yeah,
or
I
so.
could have sworn I think Justin has brought this exact story up, bro, on the podcast.
did.
A long
Did
time,
you?
A long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
During Atheist
Maybe that's
Years
why I heard
Review.
about it.
Yeah, you just dismissed it. You dismissed it fucking 5 years ago.
Now you're on board,
Yeah,
dude.
now you're all about
I think
it.
he
Now
also
you're all about
found where the Ark, Noah's Ark, ended up landing.
Is he the same guy? Because I've seen the documentary on the guy who did that. It showed all
Is that him right there? Discovered Noah's Ark? Is that him?
Yeah, that's him.
This is
That's
cool
my
stuff.
retirement plan. I just want to go around the world and find cool stuff.
Do you really? So, what are some of the crappy conspiracy? You said you've been finding some weird ones.
Oh, you know, most of the ones that I just immediately dismiss are the ones where it's like people that have died and then they spot them later as like an old person, like Elvis, or like, like one of them was like Hitler, like on the boat with Hillary Clinton.
I saw that one.
I was like, this is so great.
There's a picture of Hillary Clinton. There's a person
like,
next to look like
they're
old Hitler.
Okay, hold on.
Hitler
You know,
picture.
they have like
Yeah.
a picture of like Hitler, and then like you could kind of see the resemblance.
Yeah, dude.
Oh my god.
I love those ones.
Wow.
You got it. Sometimes we have our own thread. We don't always, but sometimes we'll send each other stuff like that. Like,
Oh,
Bro, I love it.
That's like Doug and I.
entertaining.
Doug and I have our own car. When I talk movie stuff, car stuff, I'm texting
boring
Doug.
stuff, basically.
I'm texting Doug because you guys don't even care about any of that stuff. You just
I was gonna
ignore
say,
me.
dude. So I bought my kids. We were doing this sort of social experiment with them because it's been a struggle to get them to. We give them an allotted time for video games, and if they do all their homework and this and that and the other.
how much time do they get, by the way?
So they get it varies based on their behavior. So it's either like 20 minutes or sometimes it's an hour if they're really like, are getting things done. But so that time comes up and then it's like I have it on a timer. It's this huge fight and
Every
I
time.
just rip them out. And so I'm like, okay, I give them just the 20 minutes now and then they can earn the rest. And so I do that by flipping a coin. And so I bought this coin off of this guy that makes them on Etsy. And, it has the name, he engraves the name. So it's like Everett, and then, you earn like, it's like, another game, or it's like game over and like go to bed. And so we flip it.
So you just flip a coin.
But I've been winning every fucking time. I'm like, yes. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I think it's rigged. I really do.
It's weighted-
like
it's weighted.
on one side. I haven't told, obviously they haven't picked up on it yet, but I'm like, oh man, Dad's killing
Did they
it.
check it? It's both sides of the same.
Yes. And they don't fight me on it because I'm just like, hey, it's up, up for chance.
So
You
do
got
you guys,
50-50 shot.
are you? I mean, obviously you have older. Well, I mean, I guess you have your older kids too. I don't know if they are video gaming like Justin's are or not. Do you? Does it change like weekends versus weekdays and then how do they earn? 'Cause I feel
Weekdays-
like 20 minutes to an hour is not a lot of video game time.
No.
Because I played a lot more than that, especially on the weekends. I mean, we would muck out for 2 days straight. So
Yeah, it's sparse during the week, and then during the weekends, if we're not really paying attention, it can get like crazy, like 3 hours or something. I'm not watching.
I'm not sure how I'm gonna. I've talked about how I'm gonna handle the phone thing. I already feel confident in the direction I'm gonna go that way. I don't know what I'll do with video games.
You want to know what I think now? So
They're so different now too, man. It's tough.
here's what, because you like video games.
Exactly. That's why.
Here's why I think would be good. If you're playing with him,
Yeah.
and you're engaging together,
Yeah.
different. If he's by himself, that's where I think you might need to be a little bit more.
I try that, but I got shit to do.
Right.
I got work on the house. I got errands to run. And so
Yeah, but you're not a
you have
big-
all the best intentions of like.
I mean,
I started out like that, and then it just
My son's already like not into it. Remember, I told you guys I got the old Nintendo.
Yeah.
And so he went
He's
through a
still
little.
young.
He
Well,
went
I
through a
did that
little.
too,
a little.
and that
Yeah,
went-
but his best friend, who's only a year older than him, has been. I mean, addicted to
But
the
let me ask you
little
this.
game for.
I don't know what the answer is to this, but let me ask you this.
Don't do iPad games.
No.
Those are the
Yeah,
worst.
no,
is,
agreed.
is your best friend's kid generally on electronics?
Oh yeah, unfettered access.
So he's been trained.
Yeah.
That's why.
But I mean, that's my point is that like, and that's why I'm wondering how I'll handle it is because I believe, or I want to believe, that if we did such a good job of laying a foundation early, that I won't have to really pull and restrict. What I think happens to a lot of parents is early, and maybe Justin, you could attest to this or not, you know, maybe there was a time when you guys weren't really thinking about the video games and you kind of gave them more access than maybe, or have you since day one
It's been a fight since day one, dude.
Oh, since day one, you've restricted.
Yeah. And I'd like to say that, like, you know, like, I mean, you do your best in terms of like laying the groundwork and like, you know, having the strict guidelines and rules, but just like anything else, it's like once they get old enough where they want to push back on you, like that's where it really starts to become a thing. Like, you know, you'll find that out a bit later where he's like, no, I'm doing it this way. No, they want to push back and find, you know, boundaries and where they can go, and they want to test those boundaries. And so it just it's a weaving goalpost.
It's the hardest part for you guys, and I know that you can definitely speak to this because I know your son's
that's not
brilliant.
Even an analogy, weaving goalposts.
My brother Larry, you guys know Larry, who comes in here and does our tech stuff, right? He his son Nathaniel is getting ready to go to college, and he's getting into like all the greatest. I mean, he averaged like a 4.2. Killed it. I mean, he's just a brilliant kid.
Awesome.
But he was like, I mean, he was always attached to the games. And so it's like, and he's a good kid. You know, didn't do drugs, hooked, man. Didn't drink, you know, just well behaved, all the things. But that was his thing he was into. And so, and he played sports too. So I think his dad was like, I think what I'm sure Larry was okay with was like, he also was playing basketball and baseball. And so it wasn't like he only played video games. He also did those other things. But let me tell you, he played a lot of video games, and we made a lot of family events, and he'd be down on his phone and stuff like that. But then the kids getting into, you know, Stanford, Oregon.
It varies, and I think you're doing the good job right now by laying the groundwork. I have to like rest in that because like they're their own individual at the end of the day. Like some kids are going to be like way more hooked on it.
I think, you know, you have to be careful because we tend to measure success on a few things. Like, do they get good grades? Are they making a lot of money? Then it wasn't a bad thing. But those aren't the only things that are good in the world. And if I could go back in time, I would have been way more restrictive of the video games that my 19-year-old played when he was a kid, for sure. And he got good grades, real smart kid.
That's what I mean. So I mean,
but I don't think it was because he played video games.
But then Sal, what do you, because the reason why that's an easy thing, it's an easy thing for kids to, they're being taught in school, get good grades.
Yes.
Be well behaved, right? Don't do drugs. These are like the things that we're teaching.
We tend to value that. Like if I say to you, hey, is that person successful? You immediately think what? How much money they're making.
Right.
But you're not thinking, are they a good person? Are they happy? Are they anxious?
So I guess the question I'm asking then, so you go back to your son, you redo all this.
Oh yeah, way more restricted.
Okay, you're way more restricted, but then how do you sell it to him?
Yeah, you start in the beginning.
That's what you're saying.
So
that's all. Yeah. But I mean, then Justin makes me fearful of that because he's saying that he was that way all the way from the beginning.
You're still going to get pushback.
Because I think that so far everything's been relatively easy for me to pull back on, and we allow this kind of push and pull with him with all types of things. Remember, I was the guy who said he'll never see TV. Obviously, that's not true. Right. Yeah. But I will allow him to be on his iPad, or I'll allow him to watch a little TV. But then when I see that I'm allowing too much of it, or I see any sort of change in behavior, Katrina and I pull right back. Yeah. And then we'll pull way back, and then we'll drip it back to him and make sure that there's and it's not been like, it's not, obviously he's only 5, okay, so I don't have a teenager who can articulate their argument and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that I'm consistent, and so that when it gets to the high school years, that he's been hearing it consistently already, so it's not a hard thing.
That's your best bet, regardless.
Just wait till the teenager calls your bluff.
Because I wonder what you would say. What would you say if you had to redo it? Like you got it. You're not measuring it by money. You're not measuring it by school grades anymore. You wanted to be a good person. That's vague as fuck. Hey son, you were a great person this week. So how are you going to just?
Without getting personal, there's a lot of things I would look at, but I would have definitely gone back and restrict. Look, I'll tell you what. With my daughter, I'll tell them about my 15-year-old. She's very restricted on social media. And recently, and I've stuck to this, I told her, you know what? I don't want you to have your phone or your iPad in your room anymore. If you want to use it, you have to be in a common area. And it was definitely a fight for a week. Mm-hmm. And you know what's now? I'm seeing positive benefits. She's more with the family more. She's happier.
See,
more.
That's what I was looking for you. That's great feedback because there's an example of maybe I hadn't even thought of.
You get that withdrawal at first.
That I know that if and when that time comes, that'll be an easy thing to implement. Right? Is like when he gets to use iPad, like it's just never. You don't ever use it in your room. We don't use any of our devices in our room. It's that simple. We have a common area.
It's a big hack. We've done that.
So that's a great. That's what I'm looking for from you two when I talk to this stuff like that. Is that Obviously, I'm trying to implement everything, and I still have time. But it's like, what are these little things that if you could go back and do it again, that you think would have made a big difference?
We're fearful of VR and all that kind of stuff. I actually prefer it because
More active?
see, oh my God, they're so active in it, and they're engaging and they're talking and then they're done. They'll take it off and then they're done for the day. It was like, okay, that's enough. Like the stimulus is like overload, so it's almost like I don't really get as much fight on that as I do, the handheld stuff.
Yeah. Have you seen videos of like little kids who use iPads or phones all the time and they're falling asleep? It's not even in front of them and they're using the hand signal and they're moving their finger like they're on it.
No, I haven't
or
seen
they'll
that.
pull it away from the 1-year-old and 1-year-old will throw a tantrum.
Oh, that's bad.
Oh man, it's crazy. Have you guys seen that video of the dad who his son was playing? I don't know what happened, but he puts his gaming console and video games out in the lawn and runs over it with a lawnmower. Have you seen that one? His kid loses.
Yeah.
That's too far.
I love that.
I thought that was
Speaking of kids, teenagers, we had these. I'm sitting on the couch last night watching the Warriors game. Doorbell rings like this is like 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night, which is a random time. And Katrina pulls up the camera, and it's like these two looks like high school girls, and so her and Max go to the door and go answer the door, and these two girls are selling homemade cookies, and Katrina's like, "How come you guys are doing this?" And they're like, "Well, we were at home and we wanted to be more productive with our time and thought, we'd go to our neighbors and offer." Yeah. And so of course Katrina bought and supported, it was like that. She's like, I love that. I love that you girls are thinking like that at 17, that you don't want to just sit around and watch TV or stick to your iPad or what that. And yes, I'll definitely buy for you.
That's great.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool to see that. It does seem sometimes, like even the generation coming up are becoming more and more aware of this. Like, you gotta understand, like, your guys' kids probably had it the hardest. I really believe when it comes to like understanding the relationship with tech.
Yeah.
Because it was so new to us. And when
it was their lifeline too for a while, as they were like stuck at home. So.
That also.
Yeah.
So
COVID really messed that up, man.
That like we have a really good handle on it because we were before and we were like kind of so we had to see the whole thing. But man, if you were born into the iPhone as being normal right away as a kid and seeing both your parents on it like crazy, and then you get it right away at 2, and it's like, and then now you're a parent, with a 12-year-old trying to figure out how you're going to rein it back in. Gee, that to me seems way harder than what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm building.
Yeah, it's interesting because I have the hardest time right now with my youngest, but like Ethan's actually moved over to more social stuff, and so he's actually going out, hanging out with people. But then now I'm having to regulate. Like at the middle of the night, he's like on these group chats, and they're all just like blah blah blah, like, and I can hear him in the house, and I'm like, dude, cut it out, go to bed. And I every night though I take his phone. Like he doesn't have his phone in his room.
Yeah. I saw you said that too. And I thought that's a great.
I started doing that.
That's a great idea too. Like having like a little basket where all of our tech goes. Which, by the way, I think would be just great discipline for myself.
I would have loved that. I know exactly. He's actually appreciating it now. He fought me hard on that in the beginning.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah,
I bet. Again, trying to pull it back, right? Versus if I have the opportunity, it's like, hey, as soon as you get it, here's the things. You know
what? If there's one thing I could tell a parent of a teenager is when you do something and you make a change, anticipate that there's going to be a long period where they're going to act like they don't like you.
Yes,
and you got to deal with it. Like my daughter, there was one thing that we did where we kind of fought over. And she was mad at me for a month. You know what it's like to have your kid
such a teenage girl
act like they're pissed off at you,
hold a grudge for
a month. You know what I mean? And I mean, as a dad, remember I have dual custody, so it's not like I have her I only get it every other week.
Yeah,
so it's also
that's rough,
bro.
It's messing with me. Right?
You know what's so funny about that?
But I grit my teeth. And
I told you guys this story.
And Jessica helped me a lot. She's like, that's normal, right? She probably would be mad at you anyway because she's around. And she did. She came around. But it was a month.
I tell you guys the story when I was 16 and my parents took the car and I didn't speak to them for like a year. I've told you.
Well, that's
bro. It was like I mean, what makes me laugh about that because just thinking of her doing that, like it takes real effort to be upset for being like
you're like intentional.
Yeah, you have to be very intentional.
Like I drum it up first in the morning. Like,
I remember. I can recall being like, they need to know I'm still mad. You know what I'm saying? So like being in my room before I come out to dinner, just like I need to get in that mindset because I had a great day at school or whatever like that.
Yeah, you're all happy.
Yeah,
like,
fun.
Wait a minute, I see you.
Yes, it's like that's a lot of effort, man. Goes into that to be like upset consistently for a month.
That's so funny. That's always been my personality. Like I'll get pissed off and then I'm done.
Yeah,
like,
then
immediately there's like a light switch.
Yeah, you're over it.
I'm over it.
Yeah, life moves on like that. And so, man, to like keep that rage for weeks and months.
True. It's work.
It's a lot of work.
It finally ended because we're driving and she was just giving me and again, it's a month of attitude, and I'm like, all right, you're gonna be mad, you can be mad, and I just which I don't do. I don't lose my temper. You guys know me. I'm not one to lose my temper, but she got it from me, and I lost it, and I dropped her off at school, and her mom later on texted me, and she's like, your daughter just texted me. She said you lost your mind. What's going on? I'm like, oh, she deserved that one.
Are there between all your guys' kids, parents, spouses, who has the ability to get your most extreme level out of you? Of all of them, you get one. What family member, what spouse, what friend, who can get?
What are you trying to do here? What's happening?
Only you think that way, where you're worried about what you're going to say right now. Everybody else just be honest about what you're saying. Like, who is it? I know for me, it's my mom.
Yeah,
nobody can get
It's either going to be a parent or a spouse or a sibling, in my opinion.
Well, most people. The only other one would be kid there.
Yeah, but your kid isn't going to. I mean, maybe I guess.
Oh yeah, if you have to think about it, I'm sure there's someone listening right now who's got a kid who is a
push your button.
Yeah, who's a little shithead right now, and they're probably going like, no one gets me more angry than that.
I think the closer you are to someone too, the more.
So who is it for everybody? I told you mine is my.
Yeah, mine's my mom.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, so your mom's
always been the case. I mean, we've worked on it. It's got better, but it's still there.
Yeah.
For me, it's one of my siblings or my wife. We could really get at each other and really annoy each other. But my siblings can do that too. They'll trigger me with like one or two things, and then just set me off.
Really?
Yeah.
Doug?
My ex.
Yeah. There's no comparison.
No comparison.
Not even a comparison.
Oh my God.
That's how, so me, like, so you're like naming it could be that. Like it's
for you, it's
my mom.
Clear.
Yeah. I've never raised my voice, or swore at my mom is the only person that could ever get that out of me. Wow. It's unfortunate too, it's my mother, right? Cause I'm not proud. I'm not proud to say that, but of course I'm aware of that has a lot of resentment and other stuff that's layered under there. She can't do that anymore. And but Katrina watched me work through that. So when we first got together, I remember that we were dating and she was just like, when she saw that side of me, she'd never seen that side, and it was just with my mom. And also the only person who could bring me to tears. Like she can bring that's how much emotion she can evoke from me, and nobody else has that control. Not even close. It's
I'm second, probably right. I can get you.
No, not even. Not even.
Doug's naughty.
No. Oh God, you guys should know better by now. That's not even. Our fired up is like a passion.
That's a good time
for what we do. Yeah, definitely.
We're supposed to mention Luminous by Intera, their skincare products. I looked up their skin. I think it's firming serum. It's 3%. GHKCU peptide. So that's the peptide.
The healing peptide.
You're not going to find that. Like, you're not going to find something with that much GHKCU. This is a peptide. If you put on your skin, the data on this is crazy. What it does to your skin is remarkable in terms of healing, regeneration, working with UV damage, all stuff. But 3%.
If you have
other companies are like,
if you have
0.3%.
psoriasis, it is like, you think, and I don't know, because I haven't been a dermatologist in a really long time, but their move is to go right to the steroids. And the steroid cream and all that stuff like that.
Basically immune modulating.
But now where we're at with stuff like peptides like this, I wonder if they're starting to include that.
I don't think a medical dermatologist, but if you're going to go to like a functional dermatologist.
Oh, you don't even think that a medical place would
don't know, to be honest with you. I think you probably have to go to someone that's
I love somebody who's a listener that has psoriasis also, that actually still sees their dermatologist, could give me insight, because I'm curious. That has been like one of the most amazing products for the psoriasis, for sure. So I'm curious if they would. It's so much healthier.
It's not suppressing your immune
so much
system.
better for you than taking some sort of.
Because the steroids, they start losing their effect after a while, and then you get rebound effects. Have you seen videos of people who will use these?
I to this day, I'm so mad that I didn't understand that
worst reaction
when I first started using it, because I started using steroid creams and injections well before it got to where, and it's worse today than it ever was before.
It works for a bit.
Oh yeah, no, it would actually almost eliminate it, which is what makes you go, oh my God.
Yeah, keep using it.
Yeah, keep using it. But then every time it comes back, it rears its head twice as bad.
Yeah.
And then you're having to hop around from different ones, and then it's the never-ending cycle and only getting worse. Versus, at least when I started going the all-natural way, sure, I've never eliminated it completely, but I've kept it at bay, and it hasn't gotten worse. So that's, to me, for anybody who has psoriasis and has gone that route.
I want to shout out our free forum for our coaches. What's the name of that? It's
Growth Secrets?
Growth Secrets, right? Is that it right there, Doug?
Yeah, personal trainer growth secrets powered by Mind Pump.
Yeah, so it's a free forum for coaches and trainers. The reason why I want to mention it is you guys go on there, you see what the coaches talk about and help each other through, and I wish I had something like that when I was a trainer.
And Ann has done an incredible job having somebody.
It's a great network.
So the audience understands, like Ann, who has an educational background. I mean, she's a teacher, right? That's her background. Paired with us is like the most amazing combo.
It's more structured that way.
Yeah, she's taken a lot of the things that we talk about and is put it in
and giving free resources.
Yes, so there's a ton of free resources on that Facebook page. So if you're a trainer and you're not,
it's free. Get in there.
Get in there.
Element is an electrolyte powder you add to your water. No artificial sweeteners, no sugar. This is the only one with the right amount of sodium. All right, what does this do for you? Better pumps, better performance. You feel much better, especially if you're on a low-carb diet or you don't eat a lot of heavily processed foods. Anyway, go to our link, drinklmnt.com/mindpump, and on that link, you'll get a free sample pack with any drink mix purchase. All right, back to the show. This segment is brought to you by trainerwebinar.com. Adam and I get on these free webinars to teach trainers how to become more effective and more successful.
Our first caller is Taylor from California.
What's up, Taylor?
How you doing, Taylor?
What's happening?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Good. Just pulling up my question here. So it's going to be about Kratom usage. The past 3 to 5 years, I guess, I've been using it kind of periodically, mostly in the evening time, kind of as a replacement for alcohol or any other like relaxing thing. Mostly I use it for muscle relaxation, just kind of chilling out. And sometimes I'll use it as a pre-workout for cardio. And lately I've been really trying to dial in my training, nutrition, and everything. And I've been wondering if you guys think that this may be holding me back a little bit. I know in the past, it was either Justin or Adam mentioned that they used to use it, but then stopped. I was wondering if they noticed any strength or lifting improvements from coming off of it.
I have a lot of thoughts and opinions around Kratom. There was a reason, just so you know, there's a reason why we have chose not to advertise or sponsor that, even though I admittedly have used Kratom. So it has incredibly addictive properties to it. I know that and it's a supplement that is kind of in the gray market right now, so you can easily get it at your local smoke shop. I know that we have some fitness people that are connected to us that market it and sell it. Those are some of the people that have came to us and wanted us to push it. And even though it's something that I've utilized, I've used it many times, I'm also very aware of how addictive it can be. And I don't think that it's hurting your gains, although I don't think it's a great thing to get addicted to. So just because there isn't a lot of research around it, you know, anything that falls in that kind of gray area that doesn't, you know, just because it's not illegal yet doesn't mean it's necessarily good for us. But I don't think it's hindered my gains, unless I guess it starts to grab a hold of you so much that you're not doing productive things or you're not able to hit your protein intake and stuff like that. But from a chemical standpoint, what's going on inside your body, it's very similar to it pairs with the opiate receptors. That's why you get that relaxed feeling, much like an Vicodin or a Percocet or something like that. Now, those are pharmaceutical drugs, and this is derived from a tree and a plant, and so that's why it kind of flies under the radar, and it's considered a supplement and okay, but it's definitely very addictive.
Yeah, I tell anybody who asks me to stay away from it. I started using it, and the opiate receptors downregulate
Fast,
pretty quickly on Kratom, like they would on any opiate.
Gotta ramp it up.
And then when you go off, you'll have withdrawal. And does a downregulation of opiate receptors cause any challenges for gains in the gym? I mean, maybe indirectly, irritability, more pain, anxiety, sleep issues. So now I know there's reports of some people getting liver damage and other things. That's not due to the kratom. That's due to the unregulated nature of it, right? They're getting it from God knows where and who knows what's in there. Can you overdose on it? Yeah, you could definitely overdose on it like you can on any opiate. So anybody who asks me, like, don't touch it. It was the most difficult thing I'd ever had to stop. So, and I try to stay away from it because and I'm not, I don't get addicted to things in that way. I tend to stop or whatever. I'll use things, not a big deal. That one was a bad one. That was a hard one. So if you're trying to be healthier, a better person type of deal, I would stay away from it. Just like if somebody asked me about nicotine or anything else, although I think kratom probably has worse potential.
At the least minimize it and cycle off of it, right? Because I know how strong it can grab a hold of you, and you can end up doing it every single day and then ramping up the amount you're doing.
Yeah, if it disappeared right now, never existed again, and it makes you feel like, oh, what would I do? Probably have a problem. Now, what's probably affecting your gains is probably not the kratom, unless it's affecting your behaviors, which is possible because of the nature of the substance. But what's probably affecting your gains is diet, sleep, and exercise. That's probably what is the issue. So we could get into that a little bit and see, like, what does your workout look like? What does your diet look like? And then maybe break that down.
Yeah, that'd be great. The past 8 months or so, I've been running a few different variants of 5-3-1. So it's a 4-day program with a couple of days of conditioning throughout the week. Every day focuses on a main compound movement and some accessories to help with those. I typically run about 6 to 8 miles a week. I've been trying to gain more strength and mass and everything. And my weight's been pretty stable, even through the holiday season, everything, just a couple of spikes from the usual holiday eating and stuff, but now it's leveled out again. That's what prompted my question earlier is I feel like I should be seeing more improvements from this program.
Well,
my diet's definitely in check, easily 160 grams of protein a day, probably averaging 26 to 2,800 calories a day. Okay. And sleep could always be better, but it seems like everything is pretty dialed in. So I was wondering if potentially the Kratom usage might be hampering that.
Not likely.
When was the last time, like, how long have you plateaued for?
6 months or so. Like my bench has stayed right around 205, deadlifts 340, squat especially plateaued like right at 250. So I think it might be a programming or a technique thing.
Yeah, it's programming. Yeah, it's a programming thing. I'd go
switch it up.
Yeah, I'd bump your calories, switch you to a different program. I like MAPS Anabolic or MAPS Powerlift. I think anabolic, you would probably see some strength gains right out the gates. Before starting it, take a week off, and then jump into it. But it's probably most likely a programming thing. Taylor, do you mind if I ask you a question that might be a little personal?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you notice any worsening in the tics when you come off of the Kratom?
No, I noticed my stuttering actually kind of improve with Kratom usage. As I'm using it at night, I'm a little bit more relaxed and everything, so it's easier to talk more fluently.
Not while you're on it, but withdrawal when you stop it.
I'm sure, of course, when it's off.
When I stop, yes, it does get a little bit worse, but it's kind of hard to tell because I only use it at night.
Okay. So pay attention to that because the withdrawal will get worse over time. And the more you keep the receptors down regulated, the longer they tend to stay that way. And what you don't want to do is cause brain modeling and adaptations in the body that are long term. So you see this with any substance that causes an adaptation of down regulation receptors. the longer you use that substance, the more you get kind of these long-term type of effects. For example, somebody who uses nicotine for 2 months will have a certain type of withdrawal versus someone who uses it for 10 years, right? I'm using 2 examples that are extreme. So if you notice a worsening with withdrawal, then it's not better. And then what'll happen is you may find yourself trapped in a cycle of, I need this. So keep that in mind. But as far as programming is concerned, Taylor, let me send you MAPS Anabolic, and I want you to follow the 3-day-a-week version of that. And I also want you to bump your calories by about 200 calories. And then let's start there. Take a week off, get on it, and you should see some strength gains by the 2nd or 3rd week.
Key to this one will be Taylor is not adding to the program because you have more days or more time or what. Like, follow it as it's laid out. Give us that for the next at least 30 to 60 days. And I think you'll see the difference. But, you know, because it's so different from what you're kind of doing right now, you'll find yourself feeling like you're working out or doing less. And so you'll be like, oh, I'll just add this or I'll just do that.
No, don't.
Right.
Don't do that.
Especially cardio. Yeah.
Follow it the way it's laid out. And like Sal said, bump your calories a bit. And I think you'll see nice gains over the next month or two.
Yeah, within the 2nd or 3rd week, you should see some weight out of the bar, 5 to 10 pounds.
Okay.
Yep.
With the combination of working out less per week and also bumping the calories, should I be concerned about any like fat gain?
No,
during that time.
In fact, if you really want to speed up your strength gains, I would cut your running in half. I would go from 6 to 8 miles to 2. And that for sure would see. I would bet
that signal to build.
Yeah, I'd bet money that you'd see strength gains just from that combination.
Remember,
right
too, we're only bumping the calories a couple hundred calories.
Yeah,
We're not
it'll go to muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not going to jump 1,000 calories with that, and a couple hundred extra calories every day while sending a unique new signal, right, of what you're programming. So that it'll get partitioned over to building muscle. It'll go where it's supposed to.
Yeah, do it and give us a follow-up email in 30 days. Let us know what happens. But if you do what we tell you, I'm very confident you'll see gains in strength within the 2nd or 3rd week.
And just
okay, thank you.
And just coming from somebody.
Just out of curiosity, how is MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Powerlift different from the usual 5-3-1 program?
Oh, it's MAPS Anabolic 3 days a week. It's lower volume. The exercise will be very familiar.
Full body.
Yep, it's full body each time, essentially. You're doing less volume overall. First phase is very low rep. Then you'll start to ramp up as the program progresses. But that plus the reduction in running and the bumping calories, new stimulus, more calories
recovery in between.
That's right. Then you should see that. But do you already have anabolic? Doug says, is it anabolic or powerlift?
No, anabolic.
Have you followed anabolic?
No, I took a look at it and it looked pretty.
Exactly.
Lower volume kind of
exactly what I said.
Turned me off a little bit. You guys know.
No, follow it.
Exactly what I was worried about.
Yeah, watch what happens.
I know people when they first get switched over to that, they have a tendency, especially people that have been lifting for a while, to go, oh, okay, I'll just do my also this and that. And no, don't do that. Follow it as it's laid out. Trust the process. If you trust us, trust the process. Follow that. And from a one Kratom user to another, I would treat it very similar to how I treat marijuana, caffeine. It's like, who am I to tell you you can't or don't use it or whatever like that? I just think that all those can have addictive properties to it. And if you are going to utilize it because it does help you or you do like it, just be aware of how often, how consistent and the ramping up of it, and give yourself a threshold of, hey, when I notice I've done it for this many days in a row or this many pills or whatever it is that you're taking, powder wise, it's probably time for me to reverse the other way and taper down. I think it'll serve you well if you use it like that.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's good timing too, because I'm just about out anyway, so it's a good time to lay off of it anyway.
All right, man.
All right, Taylor.
All right, thank you.
All right,
Take
man.
it easy.
Take care, dude.
That is
first Kratom question we've had in a long time.
You know what, too? It's so frustrating because the forums where you read up on Kratom and the websites, they're all written with the intent of selling more Kratom, or they're written by people who really want to justify their usage.
Yeah.
And so it sounds a lot like early days medical marijuana conversation.
I mean, that's why
it's all positives. There's no negatives.
That's why I throw it in that category. And like I said, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I use it, admittedly, but there's a reason why we don't promote it and talk about it on the show. I just like I wouldn't be promoting those other things that I think can be addictive. I think it's important that if you use something like that you taper down, you cycle, become aware. As I tell you what, it ramps up quick. It ramps up really quick.
It was the hardest thing I ever stopped using.
Yeah,
ever in my entire life.
It's up there.
And when I went through that, I was like, oh,
well, it reminds me. So
never. I was using not a lot. I was using what they recommend because the typical Kratom user, which I will not recommend this because you can overdose, will use 5-10 times the amount.
Yeah.
I used what the bottle said and I stopped and I was like, whoa. You guys, you remember that? It came in here and it sucked.
Our next caller is Nick from Canada.
What's up, Nick?
Hey,
How you doing,
man?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing all right, man.
Chilling.
What's going on?
In between sets or what?
No, this is I'm renting a place, and this just happened to come with the house, so it's kind of my little office gym setup. So I like it.
Cool.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So before I get started, big thanks to you guys. Big inspiration for me. I've been a trainer for 6 years, listening to you guys since 2019, and it's definitely helped my business, my personal growth, my professional growth. And then one little side thing, Adam, you might appreciate this. I, on the side, run a mobility group class because group classes, they should die. So I'm trying to influence in that, and I'm trying to promote it more towards progressive overload and stuff like that. I was at F45 for a while, but I kind of branched off and have been doing my own thing. So yeah.
Awesome. How's that going so far?
That's awesome.
It's good. I actually do it for free, and then I just donate the money to Big Brother. And it's been on and off a little bit in the past years, but I've started it since May. And then I got a gym that I was doing it at, wanted me to run a few classes, and hopefully I can influence the classes to be more strength focused.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So my original question was, I'm kind of a digital nomad. So in Canada, it's super cold in the winter. And so, for example, today it's -10, and that's actually not that bad. So I hate the wintertime. Rents are weirdly expensive. So I kind of do short-term rentals, go with the flow. So that's why I'm kind of here and actually have this to do my business. I work mostly on Zoom like this. And then I have a few in-person people here and there. And then I have a decent amount of clients who I do programming for. The last 2 winters, I've gone to South America for 3 months at a time, places like Ecuador, Argentina, Colombia, Dominican, and then even 1 month, 3 times separate. I had a client out in British Columbia that needed me to cat sit, pet sit. So then I've been able to travel across here and there and still work online, which is kind of cool. And I think it's somewhat unique. When I'm home, I obviously have lots of family and friends, and I have another job. I teach at a college, but it's kind of part-time and it's kind of pick and go where I need to. And so when I travel, my workload gets cut in half and I have minimal distractions. So I've been doing what I call monk mode, where I can listen to lots of books, podcasts, try to work on the business, try to do more social media stuff. I've been practicing podcasting, funny enough, the last few months, and then I've been blogging somewhat regularly for about a year. And I'm very excited with the way it's going. This winter, I was hoping to go away, but housing situation actually was too good to pass up. And I'll probably go away for a month in April. And then after that, I think I'll go away next winter because, again, I can only tolerate so many winters. So I just turned 30 this past year, and I want to know what you guys would kind of do if you were in my situation from the standpoint of how would you maximize personal growth and business growth while you're traveling abroad? Where would you guys like to go? What kind of activities would you like to do when you guys go to those places? And there is a small caveat because about 10 of my clients, I have to do Zoom, and there's a time zone constriction versus the other 10, 20 people who I have. Again, I just kind of have programming and can send out voice notes and videos and stuff like that. And then how would you guys also maximize like the work-life balance where you can still travel for several months at a time, but then also maximize, what you want to do when you travel, but then also maximize the time for, development. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have any more questions or information for that, but yeah.
Yeah, I got you, Nick. Okay, so let me paraphrase all of it so I can answer this, with what I think here. So you travel a lot, you kind of, do your thing, enjoy yourself. You do a lot of personal development stuff when you travel. Then you come home. You don't have a permanent residence, but you do stay in places and kind of take advantage of each environment. And the question is, how do you balance all that? And then, oh yeah, you're turning 30. So
I just turned 30.
You just turned 30. So. Okay. So I'm gonna guess that what you feel inside of you as a young man is a yearning for something and you can't quite grasp what it is. Like, what is it? Why am I not feeling fully fulfilled? I'm assuming that's why you're calling us. Like, what can I do? Is there anything I can do better?
A little bit. It's also like I kind of lean into the seasons of life. So like I know I'm never going to be this age again, and I don't have too many things here. Like I don't have a house, don't have a significant other. Like I do have family that I come home to, but like I may as well travel while I can because I know once I have like a family, I'm going to be kind of stuck with where I'm at. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So, and you just really solidified what I was thinking by that last comment. So there's a couple phases in a man's life that he goes through. There's the young man phase where you're free, you live for yourself, you go around, do your thing. There's no tie down, no nothing. Then the second part is where you grow up, you become responsible, you start a family, you raise kids. And unfortunately, what happens to a young man is what he's sold and what he's told, and he believes, I believe this, a lot of us believe this, is that the second phase sucks. I'm stuck. I can't go anywhere. I got to live my life while I can, enjoy life while I can, because then when I take on responsibility, everything sucks. It's a huge lie. It's a massive lie. And what you're feeling right now is only going to grow until you take on your responsibility, find somebody, settle down, start a family, and stop thinking about yourself and start thinking about others. You need to be more other focused. My advice to you, if you were somebody close to me, is I'd look at you and I'd say, bro, you lived a great life. You did what you wanted. You lived for yourself. Now it's time to live for somebody else. So you got to make those hard decisions and become a man, essentially.
And somebody else isn't going to find you bouncing from Airbnb every month. So at some point you need to set, and by the way, this is also going to serve you career and business wise
100%.
too. Because I'm hearing everything you're doing and I'm just like, man, it's the fact that you can do that and actually survive and make enough money to pay for your hobbies and to travel like that is already cool enough.
You got some skills.
If you want to be really good and you really want to scale a business and make exponentially more money, part of that would be settling you down somewhere, settling down and building a home base, building a business around the time zone that you're in, and really letting it grow. And that also, guess what, will probably attract the right mate. And then that next phase of your life.
Nothing will make you grow like that.
And what I feel you're wrestling with is right with Sal said. I was already thinking the same thing, is that wrestling with that, am I going to fall into that Peter Pan syndrome, or is this my body naturally telling me that this is kind of time for me to settle down? And then how do I do that without losing all this stuff that I love to do so much? And I agree with you, Mike. It just gets better, bro. It just gets better. You won't lose that independence. You won't lose that neat side, and you'll love it. It reminds me also of the phases of having a child. Like, everybody talks about, oh, what's the best phase? It just keeps getting better and better and better.
They're all different.
Yeah.
I had a friend just like you, my friend Bav. I hope he's watching right now. Love him. And he was in his early 30s, and he would always rent like a room in some apartment or some house, and he had a business that he could run whenever he was in town, and then he would travel for 4 months out of the year. And I was envious for a while. Like, man, this guy's just free. He does what he wants. When he comes into town, he dates somebody, then he leaves them and does his own thing, and he's whatever. And then he met somebody that he really fell for, and he settled down and had a child. And I talked to him, and he's like, man, I was lost. This is the best thing ever. He's like, it's hard. It's different. The old me had to die, but then this is so much better. Now I see him on Facebook. He's got a beautiful daughter. He's got a great business, wonderful wife. And that old him is gone. And so this is just, I think that's what you're probably
These are all
feeling.
seasons, dude.
That's
you know,
it.
Yeah, you're going through this season. Obviously now it's kind of like tugging at you, like what's next, like what's in the future. And again, stability it's not sold very well, right? It seems like it's like you're boxed in, but at the same time, all these things you love to do, it's not like you're forfeiting that. You're bringing other people into what you love to do. And it's all going to attract people once you create that stable environment to draw people in.
Since you're a reader, there's a good book by Rick Warren called Purpose Driven Life.
Oh, love that. Yeah. Great book.
So probably a good read. Pick that up right around now. I think would be a good time. But yeah, dude, I think you got a pretty cool setup, what you're doing, and a lot of fun. I even feel like the question, you didn't even have like a full direct question. So I think we all get the same sense from you on where you're at in your life. And and
we probably sound like your mom and dad.
I know.
No,
a little bit, but I know it wasn't like a direct question. I was just kind of curious on like, okay, like I'm gonna ask. I look up to you guys a little bit as like you're like halfway between where my parents' age would be and my age, so it's kind of like a nice stepping stone. And I obviously admire you guys a little bit. So I'm actually a little surprised by the answer, but like it's probably exactly what I need. Usually, when a caller calls you guys, they almost predict what their answer is going to be, and I wasn't expecting that answer. But now that I think about it, hell yeah.
Listen, if this will be the most incredible adventure of your life. It will also be harder than anything you've experienced. But you want to grow. If you really want to grow, because sometimes people say that, I want to grow. But really what they mean is, I just want to be comfortable and enjoy things. But if you really want to grow, growth doesn't happen from being comfortable. It happens from being uncomfortable and settling down, dedicating yourself to one woman, having children. It will make you into somebody that you can't even believe if you embrace it. And part of embracing that is sacrifice. Nothing new is born without something dying. So there's a part of you that's going to just kind of like retire it. Like, okay, I'm not that person anymore.
And the advice for me to piggyback off that advice is this is not us saying or me saying, go find a woman, settle down, get married, have kids. It's
find your purpose.
Yes, is at least find a home base and start to really build you and a foundation. I think you doubling and tripling down on that, you'll attract the right person.
It'll happen.
You'll find that they'll find you because you're so heavily focused on growing as an individual and building that foundation for yourself. It'll happen. So I don't know if I'm pushing you to go find and marry and have a kid right away per se, but I think you're at a point in your life where it's probably time to build kind of a home base.
Yeah, Purpose-Driven Life. Great recommendation. That book is amazing. Read that one.
Okay, I'll put it on my next wish list on Audible. I think I have like 50 on my Audible wish list. So
Hey, quick.
I'll put it at the top of the queue.
Real quick, Nick, do you have your trainer? Do you have Prime Pro? Can I give you something?
I have those. I have a few other. I myself need to do symmetry more often. I know that it's hard to step back out of it. I think I have a few other. I have like the RGB. Is it
RGB bundle?
So RGB. Yeah, I have that, and then you guys don't need to give me anything. You guys already do more.
I'd love to. Are you in our forum, Nick? Let's keep talking. You're in our forum?
Our trainer course.
I'm not. I was debating doing the trainer course at some point, and then that's where I probably would want to go at some point. I don't like that one thing. I don't like is Facebook. I try to avoid it.
Okay, good for you.
But yeah.
All right. Well, if you want to be on one of those forums, we have a free trainer one and a free general one.
I'd love to see you in the course because listening to your cool business that you've already kind of done for yourself, the CRM that we're doing now, I think would serve you really well. So I definitely think that would be great. So if you're not, at least attend the webinars. We just did another one.
I know you guys did one last night. I was doing my mobility thing last night. But I think I signed up for it just in time so I could get like the recording sent out to you.
Yeah, good.
Awesome.
If you didn't, hit us back, but if not, definitely watch those.
Awesome, cool. Thank you guys for your time, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.
You too, man. Thank you.
That's an interesting question.
Hey, were you guys all feeling the same thing?
Sure. I was just like, when's the question going to come?
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, I don't have any responsibility.
It's
enjoying
funny.
myself. I'm turning 30. Like, all right, bro, it's time.
were you guys the first in your friend group to be that guy that actually created stability and kind of broke off of that? That was my experience.
Bro, I'm the opposite.
It was difficult.
Yeah,
I'm the opposite. I was the last one.
Yeah.
I was the last one.
Yeah.
I was.
You had good reason. And it
Yeah.
worked out for you.
Yeah.
It worked out perfectly.
Oh, for sure.
There was a plan for you, for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is just listen, young women experience this faster than men because they have a quote unquote biological clock. So they hit 30 and all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, if I want to have kids. A man doesn't have that.
No,
And so
I think that's why it's confusing when they feel it.
Yes.
Because they still feel it the same way.
That's right.
It is.
It's just
different.
It's different interpretation
different.
because you're
And-
like, I shouldn't feel this way.
no, and what do?
Totally.
They placate it with video games and pleure and money.
Vacations
and,
all the time.
Yeah, and sex and whatever. And then next thing you know, you're in your 40s. Oh, I need to settle down. And it's like, oh, fuck, what happened? You
Yeah.
know?
Yep.
So, he's feeling it for a reason. I hope he takes our advice because I think it would be the right thing for him to do. The January special is here. We have 4 workout program bundles. The new to weightlifting bundle, the body transformation bundle, the New Year extreme intensity bundle, and the body transformation bundle 2.0. Every single one of those workout program bundles is $300 off retail. It's a massive sale. If you're interested, go to mapsjanuary.com. All right, back to the show.
Our next caller is Justin from Connecticut.
What's up, dude?
How you doing, Justin?
What's
up, brother
guys?
Justin?
What's up, Justin?
Yeah. I love
How you
saying
guys
that.
doing?
We're
Good,
good,
man.
man.
Okay, anyway, my question is about
open.
grip and grip strength. So I have pretty small hands. It doesn't mean anything, I swear. And my palms are like really, really smooth, like sneakers with no traction on the bottom. So with deadlifting, the bar slips right to the tips of my fingers and I'm like holding on for dear life. I usually have to put the bar down after like 2 or 3 reps and regrip. For years now, I've been able to squat heavier than I can deadlift just because I can't hold on to the bar. I can't perform hook grip. I used to be a CrossFitter, so not anymore. Thank you guys. I can't do the hook grip with my thumb under the other fingers because I can't reach all the way around the bar, and gloves also don't help. I do farmer's carries and suitcase carries to try to improve my grip, but I think it improves a little bit, but I still can't get a good grip on the bar. Wrist straps have been making a big difference, but then they bruise my wrists so much that some of my patients at work have made comments asking if I was like harming myself, and I'm not. So what do you guys suggest for improving my grip?
How about chalk?
Are there
Yard
How about
work.
chalk, Justin? You chalk at all?
I used to
yard
do that
work, brother.
in
Yeah.
I used to do that in CrossFit. I haven't done that here because I work out in my basement and that makes a mess. Is that the answer?
Yeah. Well, liquid chalk too. There's liquid chalk that works really well. So, I mean, that'll help, right? That'll help.
I'll do it.
There's also this like I mean a lot of I mean I don't know where's your deadlift at right now? Are you still deadlifting pretty good weight before that happens, or is that happening at 135?
No. Like maybe 220, 230. I can get 2 reps. I put it down. I do 2 or 3 reps. I could do 2 or 3 reps. So in the phase 1 of MAPS Anabolic, I had to do just 4 reps, and I was able to get up to like 230, but I couldn't even do 4 at a time.
Yeah, liquid chalk, mixed grip, switch the grip back and forth, and then to strengthen your grip, get yourself a gripper. They're really cheap. You can buy them on Amazon. And then,
like the little squeezy thing with the coil?
That's it.
Okay.
And don't get a strong one. Don't get one that's really hard. Get one that's easy. Okay.
Okay.
And then throughout the day,
Frequency.
throughout the day, 3 or 4 or 5 times a day. And don't go crazy. Don't give yourself a pump and don't make it all hard, but like squeeze it like 20 times and then put it down. And then a couple hours later, squeeze it again 20 times, put it down. And just, if you start to get fatigued or you feel sore, you did too much. And so it's just frequency and practice. And then lastly, look, there's a few things you said. I don't want to make a mess with chalk. My hands are soft. What do I do about that? I get a bruise on my wrist. Like, you got to accept that you're working out and there's going to be a little bit of, you're going to see some marks. You're going to get some damage. This is kind of what it is.
Are you like?
I want some dirt under your nails.
Are you a massage therapist or something? Are you doing something with your hands on your client? Like, where's the client's?
So I'm an optometrist, so I touch people's eyes and eyelids a lot. So the gentle, delicate hands work for that.
I see.
I had a feeling it had some sort of root reason why this was
I thought
important.
you're a hand model or something.
Oh,
beautiful.
Yeah, no, you liquid chalk is. I use liquid chalk. I go to a commercial gym. They don't allow chalk, and liquid chalk works really well. So you just rub it on, and then you allow it to dry, and it's as good as traditional chalk, and it doesn't leave a mess.
Yeah.
I will definitely be getting that. And then the wrist straps really make a difference. I didn't know also if I should maybe buy one of those women's, I think that's what they call it, the women's bars that are a little bit thinner in circumference.
Yeah, that could help.
So that would help too?
Definitely could help. Yeah. And then mixed grip, you know, one set like this, one set like this, right? And here's the deal. The limiting factor for your deadlift is your grip. So over time, your grip will get stronger. If you're trying to maximize the hip extension, you can do exercises like good mornings, where the bar is across your back, and then that will train that particular area. But a lot of people look at a deadlift and they think it's just a back exercise or just a hip exercise. No, it's also a hand exercise. So whatever your limiting factor is, that's just your limiting factor. So always consider that as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm on Amazon right now and I'm putting it in my cart.
Right on.
Awesome.
Right on, Justin.
Thank you, dude.
Thank you guys so much. You guys are incredible.
You got it, man.
Thanks, Justin.
I appreciate it. All right, take care, guys.
You rock, dude.
That was funny. He's like, it hurts. It makes it dirty.
Well, I knew he had to do something with his hands for that to matter. Yeah. So I thought it was a massage
part of his
therapist.
profession.
That's what I thought.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. No,
you don't want chapped calluses while you're massaging people and doing something there.
I'm like, get outside and dig a hole with your hands. You know?
When he's talking about, can you imagine doing like optometry stuff with like Ben Greenfield's hands?
Oh God!
Could you imagine his finger? Could you imagine his fingers?
I'm gonna leave the office right away, dude.
Yeah, bro.
Doctor coming in.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. No, but you're that frequency advice I gave him, it works exceptionally well. But the mistake people make is they turn it into a workout.
They overdo it.
Yeah, but if you just play with one kind of throughout the day a little bit,
it's like our pull-up. It's like our pull-up advice.
Exactly.
We always give. Just get up there. You don't try and go to failure. You get up there and just do 1 or 2 pull-ups, jump back down, do it all day.
Pick
all day
up
long.
heavy stuff, man. Like all kinds of different shapes and sizes. Just do it.
Our next caller is Dina from New Jersey.
Hi, Dina.
Hi, Dina.
Hi, Dina.
How can we help you?
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Okay. So I've been a trainer for 20 years and have trained clients with multiple health issues, but never one that has had a stroke. Recently, a client has asked me to train her husband who had suffered a pretty severe stroke and is still struggling to get his strength back. He does PT and rehab, but is missing the full body muscle strengthening piece. I would love to get some advice on how I would modify a usual assessment test when first meeting him, and should I focus more on machines that provide a set range of motion to build some initial muscle? Because the brain and nervous system has been affected by the stroke, what exercises would you recommend I begin with for the client to learn the essentials of how to brace, engage the core, ground the feet to the floor, changing their center of gravity more to the back of their legs? So I've since met with this client and actually got more information about the issue. So his right leg is flaring out. He walks with support. His right arm has been affected. He has some face tingling, and then not related to the stroke, he has a meniscus tear in his right knee. He had hip replacement, so his right leg is a little bit longer, and he has neck impingements. So since meeting with him, he has this goal. He expressed this goal of being able to lead prayers for the Jewish holidays, which are in September, October. So, which would mean being on his feet for a few hours at a time. So I think that not only involves the strength component, but an endurance one as well. So I've started doing certain exercise to increase the mind muscle connection, especially with isometric holds, and have seen progress in just a couple of meetings. I've also recommended that he walk on the treadmill, like a treadmill protocol, slowly increasing the time with that, like just a few minutes. If he's consistent with it. Do you think this is the right approach? And what should I be focusing on more to help him get closer to achieving his goal?
That's perfect.
You're doing great.
You're doing great.
That's exactly what you need to do.
I'd love to do some farmer carries with him.
Yeah, you know what you do is because of the stroke and it affected him, on one side more than the other, which is common. You would do unilateral exercises for certain ones. It really depends on what's affected, but the idea is to slowly see if you could progress him. And I love isometrics.
Yes.
I love isometrics for this kind of stuff.
What about carries? Like one side at a time and walk?
If he can do it, but he walks assisted, right? But if he can,
he's not very stable. So we've done sit and stand. So that was something that he was doing in rehab, and I had him demonstrate it for me, and right away I could see like the core engagement and the mid back engagement was lacking. So even from just practicing that a few times the first time we met, he was able to focus in on that, and right away had a lot more stability and force coming up. I spoke to his rehab
perfect,
technician, like his PT, and he said he's not limited, in terms of the stroke. He's very motivated, but he needs assistance a lot. So in terms of farmer carries, he wouldn't be able to do that. Like he can't really walk free, or he doesn't feel comfortable doing that yet. So I've done like bent knee raises with holds at the top, calf raises, holding the last one, incorporating like rear leg raises to strengthen the glutes, because he can't really get down on the floor to do a bridge yet. So those type of things.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You're so
very smart.
You're doing great.
You're on point. So isometrics, I would really use a lot of isometrics. And remember, isometrics isn't just isolated to the end range of motion. So, like let's say you do an isometric at the top of a calf raise, right? That's one part of the movement. But I can also do an isometric halfway up, where I come up halfway and hold. Or I go to the stretch and I come up just a little bit and hold. So this is the way that I would use isometrics with someone like this, is I would pick the part where they can do an isometric, get stronger there, and then I'd move them out of that range of motion and do a hold there. Essentially, you're strengthening the full range of motion.
Especially the unstable part.
Through isometrics, exactly. And then what you said, Justin, I think was perfect. Instead of a farmer walk, you could do a stationary hold, right? Where he holds
like
something
one side
progressively, very progressively,
and just holds himself there while he's holding weight that is more on one side type of deal.
Yeah, just so he learns.
Would you recommend that I do that on his right side, because that's the arm and the hand and the grip that's more effective, or would I start on
both sides independently? So you hold one side.
Let the weaker side determine the load. Right, and then and just have
because I've seen even with using the band, because we started also doing that for like kind of mid-range back rows. So I see even that, like, the more he focuses in on, the stronger the grip is. So what would the cueing be? Let's say if he's holding a free weight for that, like how would I necessarily cue that when there's still like a little bit of a lag in that communication?
Yeah, it would literally, as he's doing the movement, you're going to have to cue different parts of the movement. But isometrics with the dumbbell too. So let's say I'm doing Let's say I'm doing a row, okay? And let's say I'm doing a one-arm cable row and I'm seated or something. So you have him in a stationary position. He's stable. He holds onto the handle. I would have him do a couple sets where he's holding back here.
All the way back.
Then we could do a set where he's holding mid-range. Then he could do a set where he's holding here in the shortened range.
Even with a bit of rotation as well.
Yeah, a little bit of rotation even.
So Palloff press too, like we could progress to this point.
Yes.
But that was on my list.
Okay, sustaining any kind of rotation, because you got, what you're doing is you're countering all the forces, lateral, rotational. And so we just got to consider how we could, progress. Obviously the rotational one's going to require the most stability, which is what we're going to work up towards.
You're doing great,
Yeah, but
you're on point. I mean, the best advice I could give you is look at a movement, look at the full range of motion, and then each point within that range of motion, you can do an isometric.
Yeah, like 3 points. The very beginning, middle, end.
There you go.
Yeah. On
okay,
all.
Great.
Doing
Do
great,
I have time? Can I ask you a quick personal question?
Of course. Go for it.
Okay. So I've, obviously been training myself too. And really I love doing the low rep range. You had an episode where you guys talked about kind of with your programming, keeping the low rep ranges and then going to like the higher rep ranges separate to kind of see what's really effective. So let's say like with anabolic programming, so you start off in the low rep range and then it progresses to doing like more of the 12, 15 rep range. But for my age group, I'm 46. So for women at this age, they really recommend for the compound lift staying in that low rep range for the nervous system. So is it okay that I'm kind of combining both, like doing, let's say, keeping the rows, deadlifts, pull-ups in the lower rep range, and then for a little bit of hypertrophy going to the 12, 15, or really I should start separating.
That's what you just quoted is a myth. So the reason why that's the reason why they say avoid the higher reps is because the volume increases when the reps go up. And so what people don't do is they don't adjust their volume. Okay. So if you do 5 sets of 5 and then you move to 5 sets of 30, your volume is increased dramatically. Right. But all those rep ranges are hypertrophy. All those rep ranges strengthen your central nervous system. You just got to be mindful of the increased volume. So as you go through MAPS anabolic, phase 2 and 3 require more recovery. And if you're finding that it's frying your body a little bit, cut the volume. Cut the volume down. But they're all valuable.
I kind of came from the 12 to 15 rep range, you know, so getting into those lower was really exciting and fun. I don't want to leave them.
Oh yeah, no, but they're all valuable. And if you just get stuck in the low rep range, then you'll also plateau.
It's just good practice to kind of weave in and out of these different types of modalities.
I mean, I would argue that novelty trumps any one of the rep ranges. So whatever one you do more of, moving out into the other one is going to benefit you the most.
They all build muscle at the end of the day.
That's right.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You got it. Dina. Thank you, Dina.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye-bye. On point. I love it. I love what she's doing. Have you guys ever trained somebody with a stroke?
Yeah.
It's amazing the progress they can make. Of course, it's limited depending on the damage that's caused, but it's incredible how the body starts to redirect, patterns, compensate in some cases. Compensations is a real adaptation that can be beneficial for someone who's lost complete function of a particular muscle.
I love that though. Isometrics, she was on point with 100%. That and being able to like reconnect and recruit again. And I mean, there's really nothing better than that.
And this is a type of client that makes you love what you do, because this is the person.
Oh, you changed their life.
Yeah, completely. And you can see pretty good progress pretty fast. You're doing all the right things that she's doing right now. She'll see them progress
for a while.
Yeah.
All right. I know you liked that episode. If you did, check this one out. 30% body fat for men. This is way too high. This is actually a bit high for women as well. So in today's episode, we're talking about how you can go from 30 to 10. What is 10% body fat? This is when you have a visible six-pack. Can you go from 30 to 10%? Yes, it's possible, but not if you guess along the way. So we're going to talk about how you can do that in today's episode.
Now, there's a huge range, right, of like body types.
Yes.
Some people can run a little bit heavier or a little bit higher body.